There is a strange inversion happening in Minneapolis. People whose nations predate the United States now feel they must carry papers to prove they belong in it. Not for a flight, not for a job form, but for the basic freedom to move through city without being pulled into somebody else's immigration net. The reporting describes federal immigration enforcement flooding the Twin Cities after a top official promised what he called the largest immigration operation ever. Masked, heavily armed agents in convoys of unmarked SUVs became a normal sight, and the numbers attached to the surge are big. More than 3,400 arrests reported by the agency, with roughly 2,000 immigration officers and about 1,000 Border Patrol on the ground. When you advertise an operation as largest ever, you also create pressure for visible results. And on the street, that pressure has a way of turning into quick stops, quick questions, quick assumptions. One man, Shane Mance, manages pest control routes around neighborhoods where agents are active. He says strangers often take him for Latino, and when the raid started, he dug out his Choctaw Nation citizenship card from a box at home and put it in his wallet. That small gesture tells you everything. In moments of fear, identity becomes something you must present on demand. And this not just one person being cautious. Across a country with 575 federally recognized native nations, dozens of tribes are making it easier to obtain tribal IDs, specifically because members want something they can show if stopped or questioned by immigration agents. Fees waived, cards printed faster, and age eligibility lowered depending on tribe, from the teenage years all the way down to 5 years old. Experts quoted say this is first time tribal IDs being used widely as practical proof of US citizenship against federal law enforcement. And many people find that disheartening, in a way hard to describe. Here is an analogy that fits. Imagine an office tower where management tells security, "We have intruder problem, I want results." The guard cannot pull up full employee records on the spot, so he starts stopping people who look unfamiliar, who dress different, who speak with accent. Very soon, even long-time employees walk with badge already in hand, because they learned wrong look can get you pinned to wall while somebody checks database. High-pressure enforcement creates same dynamic. It turns daily life into checkpoint culture. Now add the bitter history underneath. For more than a century, the federal government kept detailed genealogical records and calculated fractions of so-called Indian blood. Not as a kindness, but as a tool to control eligibility for services and to pressure assimilation while undermining sovereignty and communal land. Beginning in the late 1960s, tribes responded by issuing their own identification. And in the last 2 decades, tribal photo IDs became normal for tribal elections, work eligibility, and even domestic air travel. Today, those same cards are being treated like protective shield, because about 70% of Native Americans live in urban areas, including tens of thousands in the Twin Cities. So when enforcement surges there, it hits Native citizens who are not on reservation, who are living ordinary modern life. Representatives from at least 10 tribes drove hundreds of miles into the city, symbolically to the birthplace of the American Indian movement, to take applications in coffee shops, hotel ballrooms, and at the Minneapolis American Indian Center. You see names from across the northern plains and Great Lakes. Lacour Torrey Band of Ojibwe, Siseton Wopeton Oyate, Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa. A Turtle Mountain citizen, Farron Hoole, renewed his own ID and got first cards for his children, because, as he put it, you get nervous and you suspect racial profiling. One organizer, Christine Yellowbird, made 4 trips from Fargo to Minneapolis, nearly 2,000 miles on her SUV, because many people cannot easily travel back to reservation just to get a card. She said something that should land like stone. She is proud of who she is, but she never thought she would have to carry it for her own safety. And the federal department responsible did not even answer repeated requests to explain what safeguards exist. When citizens start building their own paper defenses, it is a signal the system around them feels unpredictable. And unpredictability is how trust collapses, very fast and very broadly. And the fear is not theoretical, because there are already examples of native citizens saying they were stopped or detained. The account points back to last year, when the Navajo Nation president said several citizens reported being stopped in Arizona and New Mexico, and leaders began urging people to keep tribal IDs with them. More recently, an actress from the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation said she was stopped in Washington state and officers told her tribal ID looked fake. This week, the Oglala Sioux tribe went further and banned immigration enforcement from its reservation, and the Standing Rock Sioux tribe said a member was detained in Minnesota. Then you have a story from Phoenix. Peter Yazzie, Navajo, says he was sitting in his car at a gas station when officers arrested some Latino man, then turned on him, put him on the ground, searched his vehicle, and still took him to a detention center for hours, even though he had multiple documents, including a federal certificate that measures native ancestry. The emotional point is obvious: being treated like suspect because of your face, and again, the federal department did not answer questions about it. So what is really happening? Here are the facts. A very large enforcement surge, a public promise of historic scale, and then communities adapting by creating a fast lane for proof of belonging. My inference is that the operation is being driven by metrics and momentum, and that means the cost of mistakes gets pushed onto whoever looks easiest to question in the moment. And my judgment is blunt. This not only harsh, it is strategically stupid. Even if you support tougher border policy, legitimacy is the oxygen of enforcement. Once citizens start believing the state will treat them as deportable until they prove otherwise, you create a new social rule: carry papers or accept risk. That rule does not stay inside one agency or one city. It spreads because fear spreads. The tough question everyone avoiding is this: if this operation truly about removing people without legal status, why does it need an atmosphere where the first peoples of the continent feel they must show documents for their own safety? Why should a tribal citizen have to answer a federal agent with a wallet full of proof and still wonder if it will be believed? And when Shane Mance asks in plain language why he must carry these documents at all, who exactly has the moral standing to demand that proof? What is the official answer? If you want to know what comes next, watch for something very specific: clear written guidance and training that tells agents how to recognize tribal IDs and when not to escalate an encounter, plus transparent accounting of how many citizens are being stopped, searched, or held by mistake. If instead you see only bigger numbers, more convoys, and silence when communities ask for safeguards, then you are watching a country slide toward an internal passport mindset. In many countries, when state starts doing routine street document checks, it usually means the social contract being rewritten by force, not by consent. Once a society teaches citizens to live like that, it is hard to unteach.